Alright, my name's Dan, and I'm going to show you how I am installing a RAD array in my rig. This is my rig. It's a 55-inch Samsung Plasma and a homemade, or not a homemade, but a cheap $20 case from Micro Center. It's a very cheap, flimsy case. But in here we have a 8 gigabytes, 1300 megahertz RAM with a 1 gigabyte, I believe this is an Nvidia 1 gigabyte 410, I believe. And then we have an AMD Phenom 6-core 965 unlocked to a 1060. So a lot of you have heard about RADE. Makes your computer run faster, makes your hard drives run faster. So this has 2 SATA ports here. One here, and then I have 4 here. And in my BIOS, I'm able to set this up as IDE, and this is SATA as RAID. So you can change that around. This is an Asus board. I use Asus boards. See if I can get in there. It's an there we go. It's an M5A97 EVO, which I bought because I needed the FireWire to hook up to this camera. So I had 4 160 gigs in a RAD array, RAD 0 with striping. Don't let anybody ever tell you you had to have 4 of the same drives to do RAID. That's simply untrue, because here, this is in my front room, so it's not a very good recording spot, but I'll show you here my table. These are the 4 drives that I had. Not only are they both, I have a Hitachi, a Western Digital, a Seagate, another Hitachi, so all 4 of those drives are completely different. Except for these two are Hitachis, but they're 2 laptop drives and then 2 desktop drives. But the main important thing about RAD is these are all 160 gig, so you have to use, it's important to use the same size drives. Otherwise you'll limit, if you use a bigger drive, then it'll only stripe 160 gig of it, because the rest are 160 gigs. So several people have told me that you have to use all the same drives for your RAD array, but that's untrue. I had excellent Windows indexing numbers on that RAD array with just all totally different drives, so it's stuff I've collected. But at any rate, 4 drives is kind of sucking up spots on my computer. So I wanted to upgrade down to a RAD array with just 2 or 3 drives, although the more drives that you add, the faster the RAD array, which I'll explain later. But today I found a wonderful deal, and I don't know if these are new or used, but I don't care for the price of $200, or not $200, sorry, $20 for 300 gig Barracuda 720 RPM drive. So I got 2 300 gig Barracuda drives that I'm going to use to replace the 4 160 gigs. So my RAD array will actually go down by 40 gigabytes, but that's okay, because I never used all of that. I never used all this storage, so I doubt that I'll use the 600 gigabytes either, because I don't leave anything on there. I use it for video editing, and after I'm done with my video editing, I delete the files after I burn them to DVD, because I have them on DVD, so I don't need to keep them any longer. Now I do keep, this is a 250 gigabyte backup drive that I do backup files to, and then I also have in here, this is real important, I recommend people ask, this is an SSD solid state drive. It's 120 gig by OCZ, or I believe OCZ is the manufacturer. Agility drive is what it's called. It's 120 gig. I got that for like 70 bucks at Micro Center, but that does boot up within just a couple seconds. I'll show you here. So that's just kind of a quick overview. I'm going to shut the camera off here, install some drives, and then I'll turn the camera back on. Alright, now you can see I got my two 300 gigabyte drives in there. They're right there. It's not real hard, just move some wiring and mounting them in there and putting the screws back in. The case was very busy inside with those 4 drives, so taking out 2 drives and going from 4 drives down to 2 kind of helped out. I did notice my other drives were kind of warm because of the airflow, so I'm hoping, as you noticed when I reinstalled the new drives, I didn't put them on top of each other so that we can get some airflow in between there and there. So, and then using some of these cable ties really help. You can get like 1,000,000 of them for $1. They're not very expensive. As you can see, help bundle up some of the cables, because the cables will cut down on your airflow a lot if they're all over the place. So I try to keep them bunched up and away from the board the best I can. But it still looks like a big black mess of spaghetti. That's the one bad thing about, I think this is like a 650 watt power supply with all kinds of outputs on it. So that's the one bad thing about getting a big supply, is now I do have a lot of cable connections that I don't need. I mean, who uses floppy drive anymore? So that's that. It's pretty much, the installation's pretty simple. I've tied the, make sure, because on my BIOS settings, on my 2 different SATA ports, I have two SATA ports down here, the red wire and the black wire I can set up for IDE, input output, and then I have another SATA port in the back. That's 4 of them that you can't see here, but that's set up for RADE. So we'll power this on and see if it works. One thing I've learned is don't put the case cover back on until you get it all working. So let me power it on here. Alright, I've plugged the power supply back in. You can see the green light down there. So we do have power to the board. And we are going to push power and see what happens. We got blue lights and fans spinning, so that's good. The TV's not on, or the monitor, so that's bad. First thing I'm going to want to do is hit delete several times. I'm going to need to hit delete to get to my BIOS settings. You'll need to do this like the first time. And this is the UE, the new BIOS, the UEFI BIOS utility. I got this motherboard at Micro Center. It's an M5A97 EVO by Asus. I got it on clearance because somebody had returned it. It was a $100 board. I think I got it for like 70 bucks. Plus there was a $20 rebate on it, so I got the board for like $50. It's a $100 board, so I have no problem buying used stuff. So, and you can see there, I've got 8 gigs of DDR3 1333 megahertz of memory installed, and believe me, I don't ever use more than 30% of that. So everybody that says you need 16 and 30 gigs, I do video editing. I use Creative Suite 6, and I don't hardly ever, I've never maxed it out. So I don't really think that you need all the stuff they say you do. Like I said, with the 4 different drives, I used 4 different drives, and RAD sat up and had just fine. So get your South Bridge configuration here. You can see those are the 2 ports, SATA 6, 5 and 6. That's my DVD and my 120 gigabyte SSD. Everything's set up fine there. I believe that's going to be it. I don't need to go to BIOS. What I need to do is hit Control F, because You want to make sure that you go to I'm trying to get out of here. Okay, so I've got north braid configuration. I'm looking for, okay, here we go. This is where I've got those ports 1 through 4 that I were talking about. On my main is set up for RAD, so you do need to make sure that you go into your BIOS, and you will have an option somewhere. This is what mine looks like, and it's the SATA ports 1 through 4. Some of you will have 1 through 4 and 5 through 6. A lot of boards just have 1 through 4 and they don't have the extra 5 and 6. So you want to make sure that you change that to RAID so that you can set your drives up, otherwise it won't work. And then my ports 5 and 6, I just have regular IDE, and with that SSD on that port 5 on the IDE, it's still wicked fast even at IDE. So I'm going to exit, save changes and exit, and then you just go to your, I'll hit Control F, because since you have that in RAD, when you come up here, when it boots, it'll ask me Control F, it'll go through, and there it goes, scanning my drives. So I just hit Control F and then, as you can see, logical drive view, logical drive define menu, so that's what LD stands for, because a logical drive is making one hard drive out of both those drives. So I go to define menu. There's not any logical drive, so I hit Control C to define a logical drive. So I put mine in RAD 0. RAD 0 is striping, but there's no redundancy. And what RAD 0 does is it lets you write to both drives at the same time, and it lets you read from both drives at the same time. So what I do is I just go down here then, and I just push space to assign that drive, space to assign that drive. I always take off this fast init to none. So as you can see, both those drives are the same drives. Hit Control Y to save. Hit Control Y again. I'll enter the name. I just put array. Control Y to modify maximum capacity, or any key. I just use maximum capacity, and there it's created 599.99 gigabyte RAD array under those two drives. So all I have to do then is hit escape. Escape, yes to reboot to system. And let's see here. Now I have Windows 8 loaded on that SSD, so that doesn't affect my RAD array. It should still boot to Windows 8 just fine. And now I backed up. That's why I have that 250 gigabyte drive, because I backed up all my data off of those after the previous RAD array onto that 250 drive. And then when I get in here now, I'll take that backup file and rewrite it back to that RAD array. So there's my girlfriend and my son. Everything worked fine. Enter password. As you can see, its password's wrong. Password's right that time. As you can see, I mean, that's pretty quick boot time. Boot's okay. There's the Merry Christmas. Go down here. Now I do have to do one more thing. I will have to go down here and go down to Start and set Windows up to use that RAD array. So right click there in the bottom corner on Windows 8, go to Disk Management. That'll bring up all my drives, and we should have in here. Probably don't work. Well, what we'll have to do, is we will have to reboot, because sometimes it don't read it the first time. Okay, now we've rebooted. Now I noticed last time I did set up my RAD array, the first time I booted Windows 8, for some reason it did not recognize my RAD array drive there. So when I went down to here and opened Windows Explorer and looked in the computer, this happened to me last time. It wasn't in any of my storage spaces. And that happened last time, and then it did again this time. So even going to disk management, I had to reboot a second time, and then now my RAD array has come up. And I don't know why they always sell you 300 gigabyte drives, and they always come up less than 300 gigabytes on the unallocated space. I don't know how that works, but it always does. It's always less than what it's advertised. So, but that comes up as disk 0. That's my logical drive array that I named as disk 0, which comes out to 558.79 gigabyte. So all I have to do now is, it's unallocated, so I just right click on there, new simple volume, follow the wizard, the simple volume wizard. Maximum, you know, we want the maximum size. I don't want to partition it into separate drives or anything, so it'll automatically go to the major size. Click next. My previous RAD array had a drive letter E, so since I want to reassign everything to that where my programs are, I'll assign that with the drive letter E. Click next. It's telling me it's already mapped to a network location or local path. Yeah, because I took it out. Just click yes. Format this volume with NTS. Yes, default. Finish. It's pretty quick. Specified drive letter is not free to be assigned, so therefore I must already have a drive E. Yes, see, I already have a drive E. So because when I rebooted, it automatically assigned the drive letters in the in automatic order. So, but I want to make sure that I have my RAD array with drive E, because that's some of my programs that are installed on drive E. So for everything to work right, I need to go back and go find my drive E. Where is drive E? Is it not in here? Probably not in here now. DVD ROM. D L. Why is it L? Okay. Well, we got C, D. I know what drive E is. I'll tell you exactly what drive E is. Drive E is my Power Virtual Drive Manager. So it has set up a virtual drive, so that's why it's not listed. It's listed as a CD-ROM, so what I'll probably have to do is restart again after I have closed out Power ISO. I think. Okay, I have stopped Power ISO from starting up on system boot. So because Power ISO had automatically started and created a virtual CD-ROM drive, and it picked the first available drive letter, and since my RAD array was no longer drive E in the computer, it took drive E. So what I did was I restarted Power ISO, I restarted the computer, disabled Power ISO from starting. I will, somewhere in here, I forget.
forget. Somewhere in here, I think it's here. Okay, right there. Don't click over here, but click over here and you'll get an option that says change drive letter and paths. So we'll assign the following drive letter. It already says E because it's still available. Click OK. And there you go, bingo bango. We have our new volume drive E. Click on my computer. There's my new volume. Let me get it in this shot. There's my new volume with 558 gigabytes. So if you have any questions on how to create a RAD array or have any problems, you can leave comments on this video and I'll try to help you and walk you through it. Thanks and have a good day.